Okay, here we go. Looking at the lines of gate 59. I don't know if you've looked at the overview already. It might be an interesting thing to do because I will take you through the fact that 59 is a roll gate and what that actually means and how we can sort of relate that into our lives. So do take a peek at the overview if you get the chance and the time. But 59.1 is called the preemptive strike. So every single hexagram is expressed as an essence through its first line. Now, this is the mechanic, this is how things work. The first line is the foundation. And here we have the foundation of sexuality, and it's called the preemptive strike. There's a lifetime learning which says the authority and vitality that in understanding purpose and direction can recognize and eliminate barriers before they become impregnable. Preemptive strike is a military term. It means that you get them before they get you, basically. As you get them before anybody else does as well. It could be that way around. So this is what Ra referred to as the caveman, cavewoman line. All those cartoons of the caveman who sees a beautiful woman, takes out his club, whacks her on the head, grabs her by the hair, drags her off to his cave. This is one of the things to understand about the human union and bonding is that it's based on this preemptive strike. And remember that it's genetic. This is not a mind thing. There's no moral stand here at all. It's a genetic imperative. You find the best mate that's going to help you take the species through into the future because that's all our genetics are really interested in. So you grab them. And it could be the cave woman grabbing the caveman. It doesn't have to be that way around. Whichever way it plays out, it's the genetic imperative to reproduce the species. So this is what we're saying here, really. The foundation of human union is that the strong overwhelms the weak. This is the nature of the basis of the union. Excuse me, sliding off my ball here. It's why this sort of nature over the strong overcoming the weak. It's that it's interesting, isn't it? That's the basis of union. But it's why women so often are confronted with hostility the moment that we assert some strength rather than living out the archetype or the stereotype of yin weakness, which has been in our genetics forever. So there's no blame or shame on either side. This is just the mechanic that plays out, but it's having awareness of the mechanic as it plays out that is so important. And once we get that awareness, then it just gives us a little bit more control. I was going to say maybe an illusion of control, because what control do we have? But having awareness on it changes it. It's like, when those experiments that scientists do on the tiniest particles, and when you bring awareness to them, they change their nature. So there is that possibility of bringing awareness to some of these ways that the roles play out in our lives can change the way that they go out, going forwards. But with the so when something is perceived to be weak and it starts showing itself to be strong, it can upset that natural order of the strong overwhelming the weak. And as I say, it's not a moral judgment, it's the mechanic. And it can be hard to keep it in mind sometimes because the program plays out through us. What else can we do? And whilst we can't stand up in court and say, it's not my fault, Gov, the program made me do it, we can be gentle on ourselves. We can ease up on ourselves and others when we see the program playing out. So the 59.1 is trying to figure out whether intimacy is necessary. Well, maybe it's not. It's trying to figure out what real intimacy actually is. But all first lines carry the quality of the authoritarian. That's what we saw in gate 7. So by its very nature, that genetic continuity, here we have, this is intimacy my way. So the first thing to recognize, because we're dealing with this hexagram structure, the lower trigram has personal destiny. The lower trigram is not aware of its social connections. it is not aware that there's a gate at the other end of the channel in this very social and very intimate channel. It's lower trigram, and lower trigram does not have an easy time dealing with the other, because generally speaking, we're neither equipped nor ready to meet the other. In the exaltation, we have the authority and vitality that in understanding purpose and direction can recognize and eliminate barriers before they become impregnable. The power of fertility to impregnate. So you can see the word authority is there in the line itself. It's like, go get him, hit him on the head, take him home. It's kind of what I did with Bear, actually, in a way, emotionally. I met him, I whacked him around a bit, got through his aura, penetrated him, took him home. And we're still together. Go figure. But this isn't about a sort of an overbearing power trip. It may sound like that, because if you're correct, what is important to remember is that you will always have in your geometry that caveman or cavewoman who is ready to meet you where you're at, who's ready to play the same game, you could say. Because again, that is the genetic imperative. You're not being put out there to be a caveman with someone who's trying to find their soulmate necessarily, or who for the confidant, or because that's obviously not the best match. But the genetics are going to bring the opposite. It's the way it goes. It's just the genetics. When you look at them, the way that the strategies play out is quite extraordinary. So this is the pursuer and the pursued. These are the two sides of the binary in this first line of the caveman, cavewoman. The genetic imperative for the strong to bond with the weak, we see that in the body graph in terms of like where there's openness, that's what we're attracted to. We want what we're not. And actually what this does with the strong bonding with the weak is it keeps the gene pool strong. There are attributes in weakness that become strengths at different times in different circumstances. There are attributes of strength that become weaknesses at other times. So it's essential to have the balance. So in the detriment, we have in this position the ability and intelligence to recognize, but a deep indecisiveness about how and when to act. The potential of fragility limited by uncertainty. The uncertainty is whether you really need the intimacy or not. It's so important to understand about the nature of first lines. The first line is really just occupied about understanding its nature. That's what it's digging into all the time. That's where its investigative nature is sort of focused on. It's not occupied with empowering other people or sharing or supporting, or that's not really its nature until it sees that it's necessary. And that's very valuable. It's the nature of the first line. And it also tells us something very intrinsic about how human bloodlines and genetics survive. It survives by the strong and the weak coming together. And it's important to be aware that this is not the stereotype, the sort of the hyped up Hollywood version of strong and weak, but the true strong, the true weak. Because there's nothing wrong with either. Remember, it's not a moral judgment. It's an expression in the world. And it is the basis of keeping a healthy, strong gene pool. So the line has these two sides. Of course, it's the binary. And one is that you recognize what you need and you go and get it. And the other is that you recognize what you need, but you have no idea when to go and get it or how to get it or any of it. It's that first line investigative nature. In a way, it doesn't learn much about someone from just bopping them over the head. But the first line does know it has the power to break down a barrier. It just doesn't really know much about what it's going to find on the other side when it breaks that barrier down. So this whole business in the first line can look like a violation at one level. In the not self, it can actually express as a violation, you can imagine. the strong can be overwhelming in their strength, and the weak can be very weak. But at its core, and in its most healthy and correct expression, we find the protection of the species. At the core, this is underlying the tribal support system that says we cannot leave the weak out there. We have to integrate the weak with the strong so that the next generation is healthier. So not to allow the weak to continue reproducing without strength, because that's not going to be helpful to the gene pool. The basis of union is both strength and weakness. The grounding, all of this transit in the 59, the sun is grounded through the earth in 55, in the gate of the spirit. And this is called cooperation. And it did make me laugh a bit when I was reading through these before I did this recording. Kind of highlights the comment about being on the correct geometry and therefore finding the correct caveman, cavewoman, because in this instance, your energies are going to cooperate with each other and there will be harmony. And the line reads, the potential to find the spirit through cooperation with powerful forces. The moon is still in gate 17 since 6:16 this morning, the gate of opinion with the ancient law that those who wish to rule must know how to serve. You know, this is that logical gate in the ajna where there can be some anxiety if you don't quite understand how things work, because there'll always be that feeling that your opinions aren't worth anything really unless they're rooted in details, unless you've got your facts straight, and then your opinions might be worth something. But the ajna has its anxieties, and in gate 17 that's how it plays out. It's like, someone's going to catch me out, my opinions, I haven't got them sorted properly. And then at gate 21, the moon moves into gate 21 at 15:22. This is the gate of the hunter or the huntress. It's in the ego center, the heart center. And it's the justified and necessary use of power in overcoming deliberate and persistent interference. It's a strong force on the material plane, gate 21. It can have a real need to be in control of its own resources, its own territory, things like where to live and what to wear. And those two things, certainly what to wear and maybe what to eat, how to eat, when to eat. This can be a good place for children who've got gate 21 to begin learning about this gate, if that is supported in the home structure that they live in. But it's not easy for a child gate 21 to learn how to manage that gate of control, because it can be very powerful. All of these gates can be very powerful, you know, but some of them, of course, have more impact than others. And gate 21 is half of a manifestor channel, so it carries that impactive energy. It is going to bring a channel with Mars, because Mars is in gate 45 at the moment. So we have a definition from the throat in 45 to the ego in the 21. Now, this is called the money line. And it is a very material line, as you can imagine. It's a very material channel in a very material circuit. The tribe is nothing if not material. But it is an energy that is better suited to perhaps being a boss or being self-employed more than being an employee, because it's not a channel that really likes being told what to do. And this could be an energy that you explore today. If someone starts telling you what to do, are you feeling a little bit more like, oh, you know, I might have taken that yesterday, but I'm not taking it today. You can play into these, because these are all ways that the program moves us and that we can explore our own energies. So if it grates a little bit more than usual to be ordered around. As I said, this is a manifestor channel, you know, this is this whole channel. So you could also feel into that manifestor energy. Does it feel better if you are informed of something? If you're, whether you're a manifestor or not, but for us who aren't, is there a way of discerning the difference between being informed and being told? Yeah, because that can be a very interesting line, that, you know, the line between being informed and being told what to do, and then speak to a manifestor about what it feels like and get their perspective. Because I had this conversation, a friend of mine was on a manifestor retreat recently, and she said that they went into this this idea of or the mechanic really, I suppose, between being informed and being told, and then also reversing that and informing others or telling others and looking at the different ways that that is received in the world and in our communications. Because this is a huge part of what human design brings to us, to help us on this journey in our trajectory through life, is how do we communicate with each other? And there is a difference in all of the types in how we communicate, and just learning that can it just makes a massive difference in how we are when we meet people, and how we are together and how we exchange information. And so it's very, very valuable to find someone's type, even if you don't know anything else about them. Then you know how to communicate with them, and you can also tell them how you best want to be communicated with too. It's it's not all about catering to the other, for goodness sake. It's all about us in the world and making it easier for ourselves. And I'm not sure why I've gone off on this one. It's not really anything much to do with the moon. Okay, moving on. The moon moves into gate 51 at 31 0031, half past midnight, just about BST. This is the gate of shock, and it's another ego gate. It's the ability to respond to disorder and shock through recognition and adaptation. So yeah, another ego gate. This is a warrior spirit here. So it's looking to move beyond ordinary circumstances and discover truth and the essence of life. And it's often seen as a gate that goes around shocking people. I've heard some people almost use it in that way, deliberately shocking other people. It can be true to a degree if that's, that's what your strategy and authority are telling you is your correct way to behave. But there is also maybe a more important side of it, is that if you carry gate 51, you are designed to withstand shock. And that's a really, really important part of this gate's makeup. And Ra always said that it was because he has gate 20, or had gate 51 twice, once in his personality sun, and then once, you can only have it once in your personality sun. Yeah, anyway, sorry. Oh, what's that? Sorry, distracted. Open head. Yeah, Ra, gate 51. He said it was because of that he managed to withstand the shock of his encounter with the voice. So, and then of course he went out and shocked people with the information he got. But it works both ways there. And we have another channel because Neptune is activating gate 25 still. And this is the channel of initiation. It's a design of needing to be first. So now we have definition between the ego and the G center. So this design of needing to be first, it's often portrayed as being deeply competitive and shocking others by stretching beyond normal limits, helping others to jump across the void, or jumping across the void, the abyss yourself, and being initiated into something new. And this is absolutely a huge part of the description of this channel. But being first is also a question of originality. So it's being the first to do something in that sense, rather than coming in first, like being in competition with others. It's just, it's again a subtle difference, but it is a difference. And then tomorrow morning, the moon moves into gate 42, but this is at 9:43 BST tomorrow. So I will leave gate 42 for the report tomorrow. Good. Okay. I think that's everything. I will see you tomorrow. Yeah, I think I was going to say something else and I can't remember what it was now. So until tomorrow, go gently and yeah, enjoy everything. Enjoy your life. Be good to yourself. And yeah, we'll see you tomorrow.